Gladiator 2, The Awakening of RPALs in Canada. Scene 1, The Timeless Oracle. In the creeping shadows of Rome's ancient Colosseum, Emperor Commodus reverently unravels an ancient scroll marked with cryptic runes and prophetic visions, an oracle's prophecy foretelling of ages and dominions beyond the Roman Empire's reign. Penned in archaic verse, its worn parchment pages speak of mythic freedom guardians, the RPALs, who will one day rise to champion liberty in a distant land called Canada. Though intrigued by its contents, Commodus keeps the prophecy's secrets locked away in his private archives. For the mysterious verses also warn of the emperor's own dark fate, should he continue down the treacherous path of tyranny and demagoguery. Hunted by the oracle's words, Commodus descends into paranoid and narcissistic madness, trying in vain to avoid his prophesied doom. Scene 2, Echoes across time. Centuries later, renowned Canadian historian, conservative parliamentarian, and public safety expert Dr. Daniela Lanham makes a startling discovery beneath Parliament Hill's hallowed limestone foundations, a chamber housing the same ancient oracle scroll that Commodus unearthed so long ago. As Dr. Daniela pores over the aged parchment filled with archaic runes, she is struck by the uncanny parallels between Commodus' ancient Rome and contemporary Canada. Ominous signs seem to mirror Commodus' arrogance and hunger for power, a troubling rise of spectacle over substance that could endanger Canada's liberties. Troubled by the implications, Dr. Daniela dedicates herself to deciphering the oracle's words and understanding its warnings of how democracies can slip toward tyranny when civic virtue is forgotten. She finds ominous echoes of Commodus in the current Canadian Prime Minister's theatrical governance and elitist disregard for Canada's core values. Scene 3, The Visionary's Warning. In a bustling square along Ottawa's historic Rideau Canal, a veteran parliamentarian critic and revered sage, the Honourable Valentine of Skills Gap Trainer, warns citizens against losing touch with their heritage and civic identity. His powerful words evoke principles from the honoured statesman and leader of the Conservative. Gravely, his wisdom to his friend about Rome's creeping decay through spectacle and disconnected elitism in the epic historical tale of the Gladiator. When spectacle reigns over substance, and leaders forget their sworn duty to citizens, the beating heart of our civilization is lost. Conservative leader gravely implores to the gathered crowd, we must revive our founder's vision rooted in virtue, reason, and liberty, and reject governance ruled by pomp and vainglory. His warning resonates with the audience, kindling hopes of preserving their traditions to safeguard Canada's future. Scene 4. Confronting the spectacle. In Parliament's Grand Hall of Honour, the increasingly vain Prime Minister rehearses the pageantry and theatrics of new legislation set to be unveiled before his doting political entourage. They fawn over his proposed laws aimed at cementing power through sweeping security measures, newfound emergency powers of kingly nobility. This sycophantic spectacle is interrupted by veteran Conservative leader Gravely, a descendant of the Honourable Gracchus. He boldly confronts the Prime Minister's dangerous ambitions, questioning, when spectacle reigns over substance, the beating heart of civilization is lost, Gravely warns, his words echoing those of Gracchus himself so long ago. The Senate is the people, chosen from among the people to speak for the people, he implores. The Prime Minister derides him arrogantly. I doubt many of the people eat so well as you do, Gravely, or have such splendid mistresses. Channeling Gracchus, Gravely counters, I think I understand my own people. But perhaps you, sir, have forgotten what defines this nation. Its spirit lies not in marble halls and pomp, and the glitter of the sea and sky, but within the soul of its people. The tense exchange grows heated as the Prime Minister declares, I am their father. The people are my children. I shall hold them to my bosom and embrace them tightly. Gravely boldly rebukes, have you ever embraced someone dying from your neglect, sir? To which the PM responds, if you interrupt me again, you may yet face your people's judgment. Scene 5. The Lure of Power. Like Commodus before him, the increasingly egotistic Prime Minister dismisses the growing critics to his rule, believing the Canadian people are his alone to command, their identity his alone to create, their rights his alone to oversee, and their interests align perfectly with his own. Sheltered by fawning advisers, he remains stubbornly deaf to history's warnings. Have we so quickly forgotten the lessons those before us fought to teach? Muses conservative leader gravely. When leaders forsake their principles, it falls to citizens to safeguard our nation's soul. His clandestine words stir ripples of unease through the Capitol's halls. Scene 6. Sovereign guardians of tranquility, Sergeant, assembled. Heeding the oracle's prophecy, the RPAL guardians begin emerging from the shadows, called forth from Canada's secluded wilderness and remote mountain ranges where they have trained in secrecy to hone their skills and strength like the gladiators of old. They ready themselves to serve as champions of liberty, armed only with ideals, principles, understanding, and faith in their fellow citizens. Among them stands Aurora, veteran of Canada's armed forces, wise but disheartened by the creeping decay of the nation's founding values. She vows to reignite Canada's spirit and stand alongside these principled few. Scene 7. A nation astray. Watching nervously from behind palace curtains, the RPAL guardians look on with dismay as spectacle and demagoguery takes hold over the capital, with the Prime Minister using parades, pomp and pageantry to blur the lines between his office and his person. Much like the tyrannical Commodus ruled Rome as his own personal kingdom and created spectacles within his Colosseum. How quickly we forget the lessons of even yesterday, laments Aurora to our RPAL allies. We must revive the resilient spirit of our ancestors to steer Canada's course rightward again. Their quiet resolve in the face of troubling times kindles flickers of hope among the concerned public. Scene 8. A principled stand. On the steps of Parliament Hill's towering granite facade, the RPAL guardians boldly confront the Prime Minister's newly unveiled Bill C-21 aimed at disarming law-abiding Canadians of their private property and inherent liberties. Channeling the fighting spirit of the ancient gladiator Maximus, the RPAL's heroic leader Marcus Aurelius boldly denounces the overreaching legislation, invoking history's lessons of reasonable discourse conquering oppression. Like the Gracchus of old, Marcus' courageous words give voice to the silenced, upholding conscience and liberty over fiat and convenience. His virtuous stand ignites headlines across Canada's capital, rekindling a spirit of principled defiance. Scene 9. The Forum of Reason. In Parliament's grandest chamber, a hallowed hall echoing with history, the Prime Minister viciously derides Marcus Aurelius of the RPALs, and claims the objections to be archaic and obstructive, but the warrior philosopher remains unshaken, rising to remind all present of the lessons of leadership earned through worded deeds, not displays of power. Marcus Aurelius channels the spirit of Gracchus, declaring, "You may doubt the people eat so well or live so comfortably as you, but I understand the spirit of our people, even if you have forgotten. The essence of Canada lies not in spectacle, but within the soul of its citizens." The Prime Minister counters, "The people are my children. I shall embrace them closely and keep them safe." Marcus stands firm. "Have you embraced those cast aside and neglected through your policies? If you ignore my warnings, your downfall may come swift." His impassioned words resonate through the stunned halls, kindling unity and wisdom against demagoguery. Scene 10. The Triumph of Wisdom. Inspired by Marcus Aurelius' virtues, Canadians from all walks of life gather peacefully to denounce demagoguery and renew their nation's ideals. Their unity halts the Prime Minister's corrosive ambitions, proving a free people united in wisdom and liberty cannot be divided by the politics of fear and vainglory. By rediscovering their heritage through voices of principle, Canada steps back from the brink into a new civic dawn. Meanwhile, Dr. Daniela knows eternal vigilance remains the ultimate price of freedom. Scene 11. Preserving the lessons. In a bright classroom near Canada's Parliament, students excitedly discuss the RPAL's courageous stand against tyranny and its echoes across centuries, from ancient Rome to their own times. Their teacher Valentina Sargent, a descendant of Gracchus, stresses using lessons of history as inspiration to safeguard liberty in their own eras. The wheel of time turns onward, awaiting new voices to ensure the oracle's prophecy rings true once more in ages yet to come. Their futures now shine with hope,